All right, we are going to go ahead and get started just for time purposes. Welcome everyone, whether you're joining us from your home, your office, or maybe hiding from your kids in the laundry room. We've been there. We are genuinely excited to have you here with us. Today's topic of returning to school as an adult really hits home for so many of us. Adulting is hard, and adding school to the mix can truly feel impossible. But we are here to help you show that it is not only possible, it is empowering. So whether you are here and looking to change your career, level up professionally, or just chase that degree that you've been dreaming about, we've got strategies, stories, and support to help make that happen. Before we get started, we'll do some introductions. My name is Hillary Halpern. I am your co-moderator today. I'm Senior Director of Program Deployment at the University of Phoenix. I started my journey here 18 years ago, and I have gained so much experience both professionally and personally over those years. I'm a mom of two amazing kids. I've earned multiple degree credentials, been married and divorced twice. So I do understand that there are plot twists and ups and downs to life. I absolutely love being here. I love what I do, and I love who I get to work with, which includes my fabulous co-host, Ms. Chelsea Thomas, and our esteemed colleagues, Dr. Pamela Rogman, who is the Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Christina Niter, our Associate Provost of the colleges, our expert from our Financial Services Department, Mrs. Rebecca Goff, all of whom bring a wealth of knowledge, experience, and true heart into this conversation. So Chelsea, I'm going to turn it over to you to get started with introductions.
Great. Thank you, Hillary. What a warm welcome. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I am Chelsea Thomas. I'm going to be your co-moderator for today's session. I've been in higher education for 17 years, which has been really driven by my passion for lifelong learning and supporting students at every stage of their educational goals. I also teach the first course for many in their undergraduate studies, so I kind of get to see firsthand that courage that it really takes to start or restart your academic journey. And most often, how I've experienced and seen, we're all braver than what we give ourselves credits for, and that journey is absolutely worth it. So I'm also thrilled to be here with our incredible speakers. So we're going to start introducing you to those speakers. I'm going to start first with Dr. Christina Niter.
Hi, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for joining us for our webinar today. I'm Dr. Christina Niter, and I'm the Associate Provost of Colleges. And I have been with the university for 20 years. And again, my journey has taken me on different paths throughout my experience here with the university. Anything from curriculum development and design to being the Dean for the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences. So this is definitely an opportunity for us to talk about why it's exciting to go back to school, resources we can offer you, and some just tidbits of our own experiences that we've had along the way. So we are thrilled to have you here today. Thank you again for joining us.
Right. Thank you, Christina. Next, we'll hand it over to Dr. Pam Rogman.
Hi, folks. My name is Pam Rogman. I'm currently the Dean for the College of Education here at the University of Phoenix. But for the first half of my career, I was a high school English teacher. I did that for about 18 years. And one thing led to another. I love that Hillary describes it as plot twists, because the last degree that I earned, I started when my kids were 6 and 9, and my husband traveled a lot for work. And so this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I got a degree in my 20s, my 30s, and my 40s. So I'm super excited for you to jump on in because the water's fine.
Thank you, Pam. And then next, we're going to go to our financial expert, Rebecca Goff.
Thank you, Chelsea. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rebecca Goff. I am a Student Financial Services Director. I've been with the university for 23 years now and have loved every single year of it. I, as well, have gotten multiple degrees through the University of Phoenix, very passionate about really helping our students find ways to fund their education without having to go into debt. So that's something I'm very passionate about, working alongside with our business-to-business students. So these are students who get employer benefits. So I have a wide variety of experience, and I hope to share a lot of that with you today. So welcome.
Thank you, Rebecca. So we have an inspiring group with us today. Before we jump into the topics, I'm just going to remind everyone that you want to watch the chat. We're going to place some free resources in the chat based on some of the topics and strategies that we're going to go over. So watch the chat. And then for those that are going to be watching this as a recorded session at a later time, you can find all of these resources on phoenix.edu doing a keyword search. So just wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that. And with that, we're going to just dive right in. So our first topic is going to be about why adults go back to school. So why go back to school as adults, whether it's for a career, enhancements of a skill, personal goals, returning to school later in life is a bold and very meaningful step. So we're going to explore what really drives adult learners and the impact education can have at any stage. So with this topic, I'm going to start with Dr. Christina. What are some of the most common motivations you hear from adults that are going back to school in their 30s, 40s, and beyond?
Yeah, great question. There are so many motivators that really drive adults to head back to school. One primary one is, maybe I want to look at a new career, or I want to get into a different position in my existing career. A lot of times it's that drive to want to do more within their current industry or within their particular field of study. Sometimes it's like, you know what, I want to be a good example for my kids. And I really want to just show them that if I'm asking them to do the hard work, I'm going to do the hard work as well. And I want to show them that motivation can really pay off. And this is what I'm doing for my family. So a lot of times you're kind of shifting that mindset a little bit. It's not just about me. When you're coming out of high school and you're focused on like, am I heading into college? That's great. That doesn't always work for everybody. So next time it's like, well, now I maybe have a family that I need to consider. I've got my employer I need to focus on. And so even you heard from our introductions, a lot of us did that. We weren't necessarily the traditional college student. I was in the Air Force for 11 years prior to coming into the university. And I had a family, we had deployments, but education was always a primary focus. So my motivator was always about how can I continue to reach those goals in my career and also support my family and be a role model, essentially for my children as well. So there's a lot of great motivators, but those are some of the most common ones that we hear, that I have a passion and I want to do more and better with my life.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it's important that we get to hear from a lot of our students in the classroom as to what truly motivates them to come back. Related to that, Rebecca, I'm going to go to you. What are then some myths maybe about adult learners that you'd like to debunk on going back to school?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are tons of myths, but I thought, I'll probably focus on a couple that really stand out for me and that maybe we can all relate to. One of them is adult learners just don't have time for school, right? We're busy. We have to balance work, family, which you heard Christine talk about, and other responsibilities. But institutions like the University of Phoenix, we offer flexible learning formats that allow your education to fit your unique schedule and your personal life demands. I know that I personally got my master's through the University of Phoenix. I had 2 young children. I had to plan that around, and typically I was going to school when they were in bed or when they were at school. So it's very flexible, and I really enjoy getting my education online. Another one I'd like to debunk is going back to school is just about careers. Although career growth is a common motivator, like Christine did mention, a lot of us are going back to school because it's a deep personal reason, such as maybe completing a lifelong goal or setting an inspiring example for our children or even our grandchildren.
Perfect. Thank you, Rebecca. So we've heard quite a few reasons as to what's driving adults, some of the misconceptions we maybe hear or experience with adults going back to school. As Rebecca has mentioned, there's some lifestyle and mind shift changes that kind of take place in that journey. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how you can overcome those fears and face those challenges. So Dr. Pam, I'm going to come to you for this first questions. Many adults feel it's too late to go back to school. How would you respond to that? And what is maybe some hesitations to help overcome that fear?
So it's never too late. That's just what I want to say. I mean, like, I know with myself, and probably many of us have had those feelings like I just want to do more. I was a classroom teacher and affecting the education of my kids in my classroom, and I just wanted to do more. And so I have to just be honest, every single degree that I've gotten has opened up doors and allowed me to do more. And I was intimidated. Going back from my master's degree, I knew I was going to have to take stats, and I was an English major. I was very intimidated. But all I can say is that you don't do it all at once. And especially here at the University of Phoenix, you get to take one class at a time, which is very approachable. And so, if you think about the end goal, that's kind of scary, but you really just have to think of it incrementally. What's the first thing that I have to do? Call up somebody and talk about what do I want to do, and then take that first course. And then, you get support systems along the way, whether it's making friends with the students in your class, or finding something that is supportive to you in an area that you need. But it truly is never too late. What's your next chapter? I mean, you're not done. I just want to tell a really quick story, but one of my, we often in the College of Education, we have students that start as parapros or just teachers' aides in classrooms, and someone taps them on the shoulder and says, hey, I think you'd be really good at this. I think you could have your own class. And so here's a 40-year-old, 38-year-old mom who was just volunteering at her kid's class and starts to think, I could do that. And my response is, yes, you absolutely could. And just really quick story. I remember when I was getting my last degree, and it was very intimidating to me. It was my doctorate, and my kids were in the back of my van, and I was driving from activity to activity, and I had homework to do, and I was a little bit distracted, and I had started it, and I was just like getting discouraged. And my daughter from the back of the van looks at me and she goes, Mom, what do you think I should get my doctorate in? And I just, I'm like, oh, that's the reason that I'm doing it. That's the reason that I sent everybody out of the house and made my husband take the kids, because I had a project that I had to do. But it is never too late. I mean, now still I'm thinking, what's next? We're living longer, we're healthier, we have more years that we want to earn. That's what I keep thinking about. Like, I have a lot more years to still earn to support my family and provide them with options and opportunities and experiences and choices. And that's why it's never too late.
Such a great story. Thank you, Pam. And that's a great segue into this next question. We all know that it's now not too late to go back to school, but some of the biggest challenges are maybe lifestyle, mental barriers, and Pam kind of talked about that as you're juggling kids, going to work. So Rebecca, I'm going to go to you with this. As adult learners, how can they overcome some of those different lifestyle changes or mental barriers that would come with going back to school?
So I talk to a lot of students and I'm able to really relate to them, especially when it comes to those mental barriers. One of the main things I tend to hear a lot is that they lack confidence in their ability to go back to school and be successful. I think a lot of this is because many of our students, including myself, we have previous college experience and maybe we didn't do so well. And that tends to stick with us, right? It's that little thought in our head saying, wait, remember you tried before and you weren't successful. So it's how do you overcome that? Well, we're not that 18 or 19-year-old with that right out of school thinking we knew what we wanted to do. And I'll say myself, I was not the best in my undergraduate degree. I was 18 years old, the first time out of my home with no parents. Yes, I got a degree, but did I get the most out of it? Probably not. So you got to realize you're now adults. You have these life experiences that have molded you into this amazing person. And we just have to let go of those previous experience and say, I'm completely different now. And what is my main motivator to go to school? And a lot of it is those personal situations, right? So when I started, I said I did my master's degree. I was terrified because I was like, well, I wasn't that great of a student with my undergraduate, but I had so many people supporting me, my colleagues, my friends, my husband saying, this is something you really want. Why aren't you going for it? And so once I got past that first class and just getting feedback from my colleagues who were also going to school, it was so much better. And I just thought, class after class, you build that confidence and that motivation, and before you know it, you're doing an amazing job. So yes, it's overcoming those past experiences and letting that go.
Thank you, Rebecca. Great response there. And you're right, it is really just one step at a time. And so Christina and Pam, what are maybe some one steps that they can take to reframe some of their past academic struggles that they've had to kind of know that they can go back to school?
Yeah, I'll get started with that one. I think really you have to just give yourself a fresh start. You know, the past is the past. We all deserve second chances, more opportunities, and really to prove that we can do this. And so it's giving a little bit of a reframe of yourself, like build your confidence, put up little notes around saying, I can do this, I'm worthy of this. This is going to be valuable to me. This is my priority. And we know we all wish we could do things maybe better, or we had more time to do them, but putting forth your best effort and really just tackling it head on and saying, I can do this, surrounding yourself with resources and other individuals who are in the similar situation is really powerful as well, because you can encourage each other along the way and really kind of have those extra cheerleaders for you. Say, yeah, okay, we got that research course coming up. I know it's not my favorite topic, but we're going to tackle this together one step at a time. I think it's really powerful to give yourself that kind of reset and restart, knowing you can do it and you're a different you than you may have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. And you can really drive forward and encourage yourself.
I want to piggyback off that. You're a different you. And also I'm looking at Cynthia's comment in the chat. And to say, as an adult, and by the way, like across the United States, most college students are adults. That's who's going back to make themselves better. But how do you choose like what you want to do? And I'm gonna defer to Cynthia, because Cynthia, I bet if you put in the chat and you thought about what are the things at your current job that you like and you dislike, or what are the things in your life that you like and dislike. For me, whenever I've chosen like what do I want to do next, I literally thought about, well, what sounds like fun? And usually the things that sound like fun to us are the things that we have a natural affinity for. So I think it's really interesting because Rebecca helps so many students figure out financial things. And she was talking about, she was intimidated by math. And here she is helping our students, go through and figure out all of those things. And for me, you might not think the things that are fun to you are marketable, going back to Cynthia's chat. But what is marketable is, are you somebody who connects with people? Are you somebody who is like an extremely good organizer? Are you somebody who can cut to the chase and really break down a problem into sequential steps? Does that give you satisfaction? All of those things are marketable skills, going back to Cynthia's comment. And so those marketable skills that we really have to start taking a look at the things that we are good at, the things that we enjoy, and the things that we like. And then take a look at, because really, and again, University of Phoenix, what you're going to learn as you learn more about the University of Phoenix, that every single one of our courses, you're going to leave those courses with a job skill. Every single one of our courses is aligned to 3 like marketable job skills. And so what you'll see is the things like connecting with people, the things like coaching people, the things like supporting people, the things like being somebody's cheerleader or being somebody's organizer, or all of those things really do fit into a degree program that we have. And so, whether it be like, okay, I'm filled up, I'm passionate about helping somebody, that will begin your discussion with your enrollment rep. And you'll be like, okay, well, I love to be of service. And so, we have an array of colleges and degrees that will really feed that and be able to turn that into a paycheck, into a degree, into a job. So I think the place to start is to really do some self-analysis and say, what are my natural strengths? Because that's what I'm going to lean into. And that's what it's going to carry me through when other stuff is intimidating. So yeah, I really want to go back to what Chris said. I think that makes great sense. Dr. Christina.
Thank you so much, Pam. It's true. Confidence is something that we lack. We just do. It just happens. And we're all on different paths to what our future self is, our passions, our purpose is. So we got to get fear out of the way, right? And some of that just takes that first step. And one of the things that can be kind of scary is, what program do we choose? And Pam, you kind of touched on this, and so it leads right into our next section, which is, how do you find the right degree program? So I'm gonna go to you, back to you, Pam. What should adult learners consider when they're choosing a degree program or a career path? And how can you know if that translates into the learning and job opportunities? And again, you kind of touched on this, so just elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So, you take a look at your goals, and I'm sure that first and foremost, our goal is, how does that translate into a career? How does it translate into a paycheck? But I want you to think one step beyond that and think, what can I see myself doing from 8 to 5? And we know the 8 to 5 model is not always that's becoming a little bit archaic. What can I see myself doing? And if you know that you're a person that likes to be truly thoughtful, and you could see yourself sitting I never thought that my job would lead to me. I pretty much do my job through my computer. I work remotely, but I also know that I have this need to connect with people, to be in front of people, and quite simply to teach. And so I still get to do that. So I saw in the chat, somebody here was saying that you just have a passion for being of service to somebody. So what does that look like? In what way? Do you want to be a counselor? Do you want to be in the health professions? Do you want to be an educator? Because those are all degree programs. We have probably 25 different degree programs just in that area of, how do I help? So I really think you need to maybe spend some time in the upcoming week or month or so and just say, when do I feel myself feeling good? When do I feel myself feeling light? When do I know that I'm doing what I should be doing? What kind of things am I doing where I'm really proud of myself? I'm setting a great example for my kids. And it might be something where you know that you are the person that is the behind the scenes person. You know that you are the researcher, the detail oriented, that kind of person. Like, that's really where you shine. And then you need to chat up our enrollment counselors, because what they do is they really do a deep dive into the kinds of things that make you tick. And they're going to steer you in the direction where you're already going to have kind of a head start, and you do have a head start. I just want to really tap into the experience that you have as a parent, as maybe somebody who's had an array of jobs in your past. I mean, you've really, don't sell yourself short. You have learned a lot. How do you deal with people? How do you manage schedules? How do you solve conflict? How do you diffuse conflict? All of those things are really tremendous skills that, gotta tell you, a traditional 18-year-old college student doesn't bring to the table. And you're going to find some of the assignments in your class, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so easy, because this is a no-brainer for me. Whereas a student not like you, without your life experiences, is really going to struggle. But if you're going to make the commitment for a degree or a certificate, make that commitment for something that you could see yourself really growing, really having fun. And so who knows, maybe you're going to start to add those badges, or maybe you're going to start to add those skills to your current resume, and it's going to set you up for, incremental advancement. Maybe you're going to be, I don't know, the shift leader, because you're going to say, all right, I've proven myself as a project manager, whatever. But I really think you need to take a look at yourself and say, all right, I'm making an investment, maybe a long-term investment, maybe a midterm investment, but I'm making an investment in myself. So what do I have an affinity for? What do I feel good about? And it's going to start off as something kind of squishy, if you will. Okay, I know that I don't even know what. People always look to me to be the planner in whatever, form that is, and then lean into that. So it's going to go from squishy to concrete to a degree or certificate. I promise it will. I've seen it happen over and over again.
Thank you so much. And I think that that's such a wonderful overview of it, because when we were little, it was always pick what you want to be when you grow up. And we don't always know what we want to be when we grow up, or we're going to grow up multiple times, right? Through different stages of our life. So thank you so much, Dr. Pam. Christine, I'm going to come over to you for the next question. What skills should adult learners prioritize to remain competitive in today's job market? And how can they identify programs to help build those skills?
Great question. I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of what Dr. Pam already said. And it's really, you need to think about what transferable skills you already have. Like, you have so much experience, not just in the workforce, but in life as well. And so you have to think about, am I someone who is good at leading teams? Am I good at someone who has a skill set in a particular area? And really highlight those. Don't forget about those. Don't always, think it translates just over to a particular degree or a actual career you were in. Think about your day to day, do you manage your household? Do you manage the finances? Are you, running the kids and dropping them off? You're like a great project manager, those are all like, think about how you translate those over. I know when I came out of the military, I had a really hard time like adjusting to civilian world. And I was like, what is this? How do they know what I did in the military means anything to what I'm doing in my civilian job now? And it took me a little bit to really be able to translate, like, I've got leadership skills, I've got management skills, I've been in this situation, and that has allowed me to have this experience. So really lean into your transferable skills as well, whether that's in a career, your day-to-day life. You might even be the president of the booster club for one of your kids, events or sporting, like all of that is a skill set. So really lean into that and look at what skills will help you maintain that competitive edge. As we all know today, AI skills are even becoming more and more important. So that's an area that is really an opportunity if you're uncomfortable with it or you haven't had much exposure to it. There's lots of free resources out. You can just start building that skill on your own. Be curious, be thinking about like, what is this going to do for that particular experience in my life? And so having not only a skill set in a particular discipline, but be a good communicator, be a good team player, be somebody who people want to be around. That is really, those are skills. We kind of call them like the soft skills, the durable skills. Those are really important when it comes time to finding employment and a passion that you have in a particular area. So be mindful that our programs are all built on these skills that you're going to use in your profession. As Dr. Pam had mentioned earlier, every course that we have at the university, if it's a 3-credit course, it has 3 skills in it. And each of those skills is going to help you essentially build up your portfolio of skills. You may have experience in some of these areas already. Continue to emphasize those, highlight those. Some are going to be brand new to you. So continue to build them over time. And you can see those out on each of our degree program pages on phoenix.edu, and it will show you what skills are you going to learn in every course along the way. So those are good ways to kind of dabble in on what is interesting to you, and then also what's going to prepare you for the future as well.
Thank you, Christina. So what we've heard is really to be curious about your current, your past, and even your future passions, experiences, and skills. So all important as you select a program or look at program opportunities. But one thing that we need to consider and kind of talk a little bit further about is flexibility of online learning. What are the forms of support and how are students going to make school fit into their busy life? So we're going to start with our first question related to this topic, and I'm going to go to Dr. Christina. How does online learning really help students stay flexible and consistent in their programs?
Great question. And I know sometimes like online learning can feel a little scary because it's like, oh, I might do best in a classroom, or that was my previous experience. But online learning has this ability to give us so much flexibility because we can do that work any time of the day. There are some programs where we have to have certain times set up, but for the majority of our programs, we're really looking at the ability to work at coursework at 8 at night, 8 in the morning, on my lunch break, when the kids are taking a nap, when I'm sitting at a sporting event, watching, my child hit a home run to the outfield. I'm typing in a paper. There's the online, it really provides the mobility and the ability for you to be very flexible. But we have very structured weeks. So we know exactly what kind of assignments we're going to have during the week, when assignments are due during the week. So while it gives you the flexibility, it also gives you the structure. And so what's really important for online learning is that you have to have a consistent routine as well. And that is really important when you're in a space that's a little bit more self-driven. While there'll be deadlines and deliverables, you still have to be the one to take the initiative to do that work and to make sure it fits into your schedule. So I really encourage students to find a very reliable daily schedule. Be very routine with it. Maybe you're going to be doing your readings on Monday nights, and Tuesday morning, you're going to dig into some more research. And then by Wednesday, you're doing your outline for your project that's due that week. So be very structured with it. Because we are busy individuals, we're a busy workforce, we're a busy America. We have to be able to plan. So have calendaring, have a nice structure, have organization to it. And you will find that it's very manageable because then you can do it in those bite-sized pieces. I don't encourage you waiting till Sunday night to suddenly write your paper or to, pull all your resources together. Sometimes it's going to happen though. So give yourself some, grace and forgiveness as well. It's not always going to be a perfect scenario. You might try to be taking vacation in the middle of all of that, but you can take your computer with you and you can still do some work as you go. So there's a great amount of flexibility, but you also have to maintain a consistent, reliable pattern and routine within your courses to make sure you can meet those goals. Once you get that routine down, it'll feel like second nature and you can really just go with the flow and you manage to fit that into your daily life and into all of your other responsibilities as well.
Great, thank you. It's about keeping kind of like a simple, flexible, and consistent schedule ultimately. It takes a little bit of time to find that, but it's doable. So thank you for that. So Dr. Pam, we're going to go to you because I feel like you're a great person to talk about this as well. And you've kind of mentioned this. So what are some mindset shifts that are necessary to thrive in the online environment or after years of being away from school or, essentially being online?
Yeah, so first I just want to say the biggest mindset shift that you have to really remember is that you can do hard things. Like everybody out here, we've all done hard things. And the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And one of the things that I'm super proud about and that we talk about a lot here at the University of Phoenix is that we know that school is probably your fourth priority. You got your kids and your family, you have your job, and many of us are caretaking in some other format. And so then comes school. And so we have, as Dr. Christina talked about, so many different support systems that are set up. We know that. We don't expect for your University of Phoenix class to be your first priority because you're living your life. But if you don't start, you'll never finish. I remember finally for my last degree, I knew I needed to do it if I was going to progress in my field. And I just, sat the fam down and had a meeting and said, something's got to give. And let's all discuss, something's got to give off of my plate. Let's discuss where we have, anybody else has any space to take on this or that. And so that's what we did. But it is the mindset of I can do hard things. And, I love the idea that once you start, you know what's next. And the great thing is if you think, oh, I'm not a very structured person, as Dr. Christina just outlined, the courses are the structure for you. And you will be able to rely on that structure because it's going to be the same all throughout your program. So you can do hard things. And if you don't start, you won't finish. And then, the other thing that I always like to say is your degree or your certificate is something that nobody can ever take away from you. And I speak from experience. Every time I've made an investment in my education, it's paid off. Not it's paid off financially, it's paid off fulfillment wise. So it's just it's the mindset, like you can do it, because I've seen Dr. Christina and I see every graduation, we see thousands of people of all different ages who I promise you have had all of the things on their plate that you have, and they just, sometimes they had to switch their pace or pause for a bit, but they continued. And that feeling of walking across that stage and getting that diploma, it's unmatchable, and it's life changing. It really is. And the hardest step is the first one, but you can't think of it all at once. You just have to think of it incrementally, and invite your family and your support system and your friends to be a part of your journey, because it'll be that much more important to you, and then it'll be important to them as well. And then once your time is done, then who are you going to invest in your family, to support that other person? Maybe your spouse, maybe your mother, who knows? But I mean, we're not done earning or learning. And the great news is, hopefully, you can do both at the same time. But I just, my biggest piece of advice is, don't be intimidated because you don't do it all at once. Hopefully that answered your question, Chelsea.
No, I would say, I don't know, truth talk is what I would say came from your answer. So that was a wonderful answer. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Everything that has been talked about, it keeps coming back to, for me, it's really self-care. We do so much for other people, for our kids, for our spouses, if we're married, for work, our communities. And really, this goes back into doing something for you. That self-care, that self-love, it's like going to the gym and working out. You have to work your brain out, you have to work your mind out. So sometimes when it becomes overwhelming to try to fit it in, remember that you matter, and that you're important, and that your self-care and the things that are you're passionate about do take a priority. There's no perfect formula in fitting it in your life. I can promise you that. There's never a perfect time. There's no perfect formula. I had my son in the middle of one of my classes. But you make it work. You make it work. You're flexible. You find a routine. And when it's necessary, you fit it in where you can, how you can, but you do it. You do it for you, most importantly. So now, one of the biggest questions that we have is, how do we pay for this? So let's talk a little bit about affordability and credit experience and get into the finances. So Rebecca, this is really your topic of expertise, financial aid, scholarship, paying for school. There's so many options that can be overwhelming. So what are some of those financial planning practices to consider? Rebecca?
Wonderful. Well, I'll go over some of those. I'm very passionate about education, and something I'm even a little bit more passionate about is, how do we pay for it, right? Without going into some major debt. The University of Phoenix, we really encourage students to make informed borrowing decisions throughout your entire program so that you can keep education cost and debt as low as possible. So let's talk about some considerations prior to borrowing student loans. Grants. University of Phoenix offers, students may be eligible for, there's the federal Pell Grant, and there is also what's called the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, or you may hear it called FSEOG. These are need-based, and typically they don't require repayment. So any type of grants, that's one that you would want to go look at. Scholarships. The University of Phoenix has scholarships specific for our learners, and external scholarships offered by third-party organizations are also an option. Ask your employer if they offer any educational assistance or tuition benefits. Many companies, large or small, may provide support, even if informally. Self-funding options. You can choose to fund your education fully or partially without relying on loans. So these are some options that can help reduce loan debt. I gave a very high level overview because it is very in-depth and could be specific for certain individuals. So I highly recommend that you talk to your enrollment representative. We also have a very knowledgeable financial services department with finance advisors that can help you with exploring all these options. And we're also going to share some resources so that you can explore how to save on your education.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. We are running a little bit short on time, so I want to jump and make sure that we do talk about prior learning assessment, because as adult learners, there's a lot of experience that we have. So can you talk to us a little bit about PLA, which we call prior learning assessment, or transfer credits, and how that can help reduce costs?
Absolutely. So alternative and transfer credits can help students shorten the length of their program and also reduce costs. We have prior learning assessment, or you'll hear it as PLA. That's a free option for admitted and officially evaluated students to possibly earn credit in your program from trainings, certifications, professional licenses, or through even life reflective journals. We also have alternative credits from approved online courses such as Sophia, Straighterline, or Study.com, and transfer credits through other educational institutions, which can help you complete your degree faster and at a lower cost. So for example, Hillary, an undergraduate student who has 3 alternative credit or transfer credits may graduate 5 weeks faster and save nearly $1,200.
That's a huge savings. Are there any other financial resources or assistance available that you want to mention?
Yes, I would like to mention we have our Savings Explorer on phoenix.edu, which can help you learn more about potential cost saving opportunities. We also, I think someone was asking about like writing. We have our Center for Writing Excellence. That's a really valuable resource to help with maybe crafting scholarship essays or creating or even completing your prior learning assessment journals. And then once you do become a student, we have free financial coaching through our Life Resource Center. This service can support you in creating a personalized budget and identifying potential savings that may be applied towards tuition costs.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's really great to hear about all of our, or some of our financial resources and also previous experiences that we've talked a lot about that can kind of alleviate some of the common concerns with adult learners on how to financially afford college, or how to maybe even get a jump start in their progress towards their degree. So we're going to go into our last topic before we get right into our Q&A. Our last topic is going to be a great topic to end on. It's about success stories. And so Christina, you're going to end us here with this last question. It's going to be, success looks different for everyone. So what does success look like for adult learners beyond graduation?
Yeah, great question. And success really is individualized, depending on why you wanted to get your degree in the first place. It could be you received that promotion at work. Maybe you went into a different industry altogether, or maybe you got to hang that diploma on the wall and show your children and your family and your loved ones, like, I did this, I reached this goal. This was for me and for you. So it's really going to be individualized, but we have so many great alumni as well that I really want to highlight. As you may be aware, we have over 1 million alumni at the University of Phoenix, which is amazing. So think about, you might even know some of those alumni out there. Look in your inner circles or go on LinkedIn and connect even with those individuals, because they have success stories that they would love to share as well. We see individuals through a lot of hardship potentially, you know, and they show up at graduation, as Dr. Pam had said, and we are so happy to have them there, and they are beyond overjoyed with emotion and just the hard work it took to get there, but they did it and they kept on persisting and persevering. So connect with alumni if you have an opportunity. They are great resources. I really encourage everyone to have a very supportive group around you, support system around you to help with this journey. This journey isn't done alone. It is very much a process that you're doing the hard work, but you have those around you helping you, either cheering you on, taking on some of those chores and responsibilities that you might have that you need support with. But success is going to mean something a little bit different to everybody. But ultimately, the goal is to finish, and that is huge success right there. So continue to shine, continue to persevere and persist, do the hard work, and it will pay off. So we're excited to add many more alumni to that, over 1 million already.
Perfect. Thank you, Christina. We're actually going to go to one more question for you related to this. And it kind of caps off our whole conversation as well. So if you could think of maybe one strategy or one best practice that adult learners should consider when going back to school, and maybe share that here with the audience today.
Yeah, I think organization is really key to this process. When you are juggling so many responsibilities, it is vital to have a calendar at your fingertips, or an electronic calendar. My own little story real quick. My daughter is going to be heading to college soon, and she's like, I'm so busy right now, I can't keep my calendar straight. We got a great family calendar. Everybody knows where everybody is at what time, when homework is due, when we've got other responsibilities, and just to help share your stories with other individuals, because if you are struggling in an area, someone else is likely in that same boat. So connect with individuals and have that strong support system around you, and then the organization will definitely fall into place. And that's one great way to really just continue to take one step at a time and reach your goal.
I love it. One step at a time.
That's right.
All right. So if you have questions, well, to wrap this up, one step at a time, it's part of the journey. Learning how to overcome what life throws at us is truly part of the journey. You are unstoppable. Go after those goals, your future, all those things that you want. And we are now going to open it up for some questions from our audience. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat, and we will direct those to our wonderful panelists here. So let's see what questions we have. Okay, so question number 1, what practical strategies have you seen adult learners use to balance school with full-time work and family responsibilities? Let's go with Pam, Dr. Pamela.
Yeah, I've got a couple loaded up. We talk to our ed students all the time, and so what I've heard some people say that they do is that they make a commitment to get to work a little bit earlier or stay a little bit later, so that it kind of becomes a little bit of an extension of the workday. A lot of folks, they have their computer at home and they have their computer at work, but I mean, you can totally log into your courses at work, and so then they kind of factor in that time right then. To be able to, add, you're always trying to find hours in your day. And so do that. I also know a lot of our students are parents. And so what they've done is because you don't want to add any more cost to your day as well, but they've done kind of like the trade off with like the childcare. Hey, let me, have the kids on this day on Saturday while my spouse can kind of watch the kids, and can you take the kids on this day? And so just kind of like that free kid swap, so that you have, time to do your homework. Plus, another one that I hear a lot of times is I just get no schoolwork done at home. And sometimes you're too tired to do the work after the kids go to bed. And so what I hear, a lot of our students say is that they go find some place with some free Wi-Fi, and they put their headphones in, put on their classical music, and pound out some of their schoolwork outside of the house in just different kinds of incremental time. Plus, the other thing that I think is really helpful is it's unrealistic to think that you're going to be able to block out 5 hours at one time to do your schoolwork. Like hardly anybody can do that. But a lot of your schoolwork can be done in shorter increments. Like, you look at the beginning of the week, you see everything that you have to have done, and you kind of block out the time periods for how much this is going to take. My discussion question is only going to take a half an hour. So let me go and, find some space to do that. So really just like blocking out the schoolwork time, I think is really important. And just, it doesn't have to be tremendous planning ahead, but just to give some thought and keep it in your mind. Maybe put a sticky on your computer and say, all right, I've got to accomplish this, this, and this throughout the day. So just some really practical things like that with your time.
Yeah. I also want to just add, for those that may be single parents, we don't have, you might not have that support system of a spouse, but you have friends. I know for myself, like I earned some of my degrees as a single mom, and it had to be my work. I would save my lunch break to do school, or when the kids went to sleep, I would do my discussion questions for the week and just have them loaded up of like how I was going to respond. And so sometimes that support system looks a little bit different, and that's okay. It is still doable, I promise. It is still doable. So it's just a matter of finding the time, finding the right place in your day to fit it in, and being that inspiration to your kids as well. So just wanted to add that. Chelsea, I think you're going to take the next question.
Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit to it as well, and just say, don't be afraid to let your family be part of your education. A lot of times my kids are sitting right next to me while I'm teaching or when I went to school, and kind of establishing you're that role model for everyone around you. So if they see you going to school, that's going to build some excitement for them as well. So I encourage you to make your family your work, go to work and talk about going to school. You never know who's listening and what opportunity that can provide. So, but we do have another question. So our second question here is, what if you are not sure of the degree that you should pursue? How does one choose? So Dr. Christina, I'm going to have you start with this. Can you answer that question for us?
Absolutely. And this is a tough question. It is. Some people are very driven. They know exactly what they want to do. That's been like their goal their whole life. And that might be an easier decision. But if you're like a little unsure, I think it's really important to do your research, right? Do your research, talk to individuals who are in certain disciplines that you might be interested in or excited about, so you can really get a feel for what that day-to-day work is. If you're somebody who likes to move around, you probably don't want to get a degree that's going to give you like a desk job, right? Like you really have to know yourself and what passions lie within you. We have amazing enrollment advisors and counselors who can give you a lot of guidance as well. And it's really important to just talk through, like, what is my goal? What do I want to see with my future? And that may help sway, do I want a degree in business? Am I more into the helping professions and I want health administration, or I want to go and I want to be a teacher. I've had that drive my whole life. Or maybe that's a skill set I'm really good at. So remember about those transferable skills too, and things you've done in your past, and what areas might really speak to you. So it is a big decision, but you have to do your research. You have to talk to individuals who are in those professions already. You might have some good role models out there, or just connecting with somebody in your local community who is, the banker, for example, or somebody at your child's school. If you have children, like, hey, tell me about teaching a little bit more, or I really want to be in the helping professions. I want more of the counselor role. What does that look like? So really do the research, talk to those individuals in your support system, in your communities. Don't be afraid to reach out, because people who have been in those roles really also want to be mentors and they want to give back. So it's important. Everyone is really happy to do that. So do the research, take some personality assessment tests too. There's a lot of free, and you're like, what do I like to do? Because you want to make sure whatever you're investing in is something that you want to do long-term.
Excellent. I think knowing the industry, right? Whether nursing or education, and Pam, maybe you can kind of talk a little bit about industry specific in selecting degree program, and then we'll move on to.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to remind everybody that, AI and Google, like that's going to get you pretty far. So if you're somebody that you want to stay in your local community, you can just do a quick search and say, what industries are really booming and growing in my area, or what industries are really just very forgiving and allow people to work from home. For some people, that's your major goal, is that you just want to work from home. And so if you just do a kind of a quick research and say, okay, of those industries, now maybe what's the earning potential with this certificate or this degree? Because maybe maybe your main goal is financial, which is true for many people. But you really want to make sure that you tether that with something that you're going to be able to do, you're going to be happy in, because you're not going to stay in a profession if you're miserable. Certainly, we wouldn't want you to. And so, really, just to kind of take a look at what's surrounding you, and just begin your initial search. And like maybe you approach your enrollment counselor saying, "Hey, I live in southeastern Arizona, and there's a lot of tech companies that are popping up. What would be a good entry level position or degree or certificate or whatever to make myself marketable for this business?" And so if you come with a specific question, it's going to really just shorten your discussion, because I promise you, our enrollment advisors and counselors, they talk to an array of interests. They talk to an array of readiness. People will come like, I don't know what I want to do, but I think in education will help me. And then they have those specific questions to drill down. But you can do a lot of that on your own and get kind of an idea and get a little bit excited about something before you even enter that discussion. I think that's super helpful. We gotta, as adults, we know we've all been in experiences where we had to advocate for ourselves. We had to advocate for our kids. Maybe we had to advocate for our elderly parents, but we've got to advocate for our own career success as well and take a little bit of ownership in that.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, one more question, which I love this one. Somebody on the call is going into their DBA, so their doctorate in business administration. And the question is, how do I overcome my fears and intimidation of the dissertations? So Chris, Pam, Dr. Chris, and Dr. Pam, which one would like to take this one?
I'll just start little, and definitely Dr. Pam can add into it too. Because we've both been in that scenario where we both had dissertations to do as well, and it can feel very overwhelming. But again, it's like one step at a time. Work closely with your chair and really talk through your scenario. Dissertations are a lot like you want to solve all the world's problems, but don't go that big. Narrow it down, focus in on like, what is an area I can influence in my research, and really take those baby steps and be persistent. It took me a lot longer to finish my dissertation than I thought I would, which was a little discouraging at times. But at the same time, I just kept moving forward. You just have to keep trying to go for that goal, focus on what you know you're really good at, and just keep encouraging yourself. Put up those little signs. Take breaks every now and then too. Like, it's a big journey. Remember, it's more of a marathon than a sprint. So you're not going to finish it overnight. You're not going to even finish it in a few months. And that's okay. Give yourself that grace, but just keep encouraging yourself to move forward, and you will get there. You will.
I just want to give a quick shout out to our College of Doctoral Studies, because they have gone through a ton of study and revision, probably over the past, I don't know, Dr. Christina, about 4 years. And they have really just taken a look at student behaviors and what are the common pitfalls that our doctoral candidates run into. And they have really just rallied around what kind of support we can offer here at the University of Phoenix. And so all I will say is the dissertation process, at least at the University of Phoenix, was not your father's dissertation process. It's much more current. It is, and we offer so many different kinds of supports, and not even your dissertation is done all at once. You do it chapter by chapter, and you don't even start until you've acquired the skills necessary to do it. You're going to learn how to research. You're going to learn how to craft a proposal. You're going to learn how to organize yourself. You're going to learn how to do a study. You're going to learn how to do statistical analysis. All of that is like, that's prep until you even get to the dissertation process. And it's sequential. And you are supported along the way. Trust me, as a high school English teacher can walk through it. Many people have done it. And again, you can do hard things.
All right. Thank you, Pam. So we are at time and understand that many of you may need to drop. So this will be recorded and posted on phoenix.edu. But if you want to remain with us and can remain with us, we're going to ask our speakers to provide just some closing remarks on this session. So Dr. Pam, I'm going to start with you, your closing remark for today.
You can do hard things. You won't finish unless you start. That's all I have to say.
Short and powerful, that's for sure. So Dr. Christina, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I first of all, you took the first step by being here today. So thank you for being here. If you have questions, reach out to us. We are here to support you along the way.
Great. Okay, Rebecca, do you want to end today with a remark?
Absolutely. We have such an amazing support team, from our enrollment representatives to our academic counselors to our financial advisors, that are here to help answer questions, give you guidance, help you find finance options, whatever that is. We are here for you. So never hesitate, reach out and call us. We love what we do. We love seeing you be successful. And we know that you can do hard things and you can get that degree. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you everyone for attending today. Thank you again to our speakers. We hope you're leaving inspired, motivated, and probably most importantly, empowered to take that first step, that just little first step. One, again, that you're here today, but then that next step. So thank you everyone for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Good luck.